Osterreicher, who is the CEO and co-founder of ReSpo.Vision. So I'm really fascinated about this story, and I'm not sure how many people know about the rise and fall and rise again of Wisła Kraków, but Wisła is one of the most storied clubs in Polish football history, the second most successful club in terms of league titles won, with 14. However, in recent years, the club has fallen on hard times. It almost went bankrupt, and then in 2022, the unthinkable happened, and the club was relegated from the Ekstraklasa. However, determined to restore the good times and the glory days to the club, Jarek, the new CEO who took over the club, turned to AI and took a little bit of a gamble, I think, on AI. And he partnered with ReSpo.Vision, which is also a Polish company focused on analytics, an industry leader of AI-powered stats analytics, which uses enhanced 3D obstacle tracking to collect and transform data into insights. The idea, of course, being that the team then gets the competitive edge. Now, this partnership bore fruit in quite a dramatic way in May of this year, when Wisła became the first team in almost 30 years from outside of the Polish top flight to win the Polish Cup. It was quite a dramatic win, equaliser, I think, in the 99th minute of normal time, and then an extra time goal to win the match as well. So obviously the next goal for the club is to get promoted back to the Polish top flight, back to the Ekstraklasa, and we're going to explore today just how ReSpo.Vision has worked with Wisła to kind of restore the success to the club. So, Jarek, we'll start with you, if that's okay. Can you share with us how Wisła has managed to kind of turn things around? What has been the secret ingredient in your eyes to the success, and particularly the incredible cup win in May?
Pleasure to meet you all. It's always, happy, to just such amazing, events. To make some background of that, I started cooperate with Wisła as a fan of the Wisła from the young time in my life. In 2019, when the club was almost bankrupt. Later, after relegation to the second division, I became the CEO and the major shareholder. And being honest, it is natural for me, because you need to understand that I am in the business which is about AI, almost 12 years. So I really believe in the data science. So I am here a little bit like the technocrats. So I believe in football, by the way. The data science and AI will be the major factor of the success in the future. So we decided, by the way, that the first decision, which was data-driven, was to try to find the best coach with the data and the science. So we hired Albert Rude, I think so one of the most talented guy in the football right now, very young one, as a coach. Unfortunately, we cannot continue with him. And later, we try to find something which is super important for every club. You don't have a lot of resources to do analytics. You don't have a lot of resources to make the proper tagging. You don't have a lot of resources to make something which will be very automatic in terms of the analysis of the rivals and analysis of your team and so on and so forth. And I met Pawel, a couple of years ago and heard about his project at the beginning. And later we decided that the ReSpo.Vision will be core of our analytics of the rivals and also some opponent teams in the automatic way. And I was impressed with the details we have thanks to the ReSpo.Vision, because the platforms which are common for every club. But ReSpo.Vision, using the computer vision, is giving you so many different insights you didn't see normally in the football, that this was our core fundament for every match, every rival for the league and for the cup. And as you probably know, being in the second tier division and fighting for the cup with the Premier Division clubs is always very hard and big challenge. You don't need to have the opportunity to build the strong team, has the proper players, the strong players and so on. So you need to hack the system. And I think that ReSpo.Vision helped us a lot to see the things we didn't see as a data analyst, as a coaches, as a management team, and see details, because details in the football are super important. to prepare to every match in the proper way. And when you observe and you just watch the games of the Wisła Kraków during the Polish Cup campaign, Wisła was playing amazing matches, amazing games, and so on. Still, of course, we are right now struggling with fighting in the second division, league, because we are more about technical football and something like that. But still, we are developing the models with the ReSpo.Vision as soon as possible to be much more accurate, and so on and so forth. So I think that the magic thing here is like this, that many years ago I was like dreaming about the system which be completely autonomous in terms of getting insights from the videos, from the different camera angles, from the different data points, and do it in very fast time. So we are getting from the ReSpo information very quickly before the game, after the game, and the reports are also automatic. So I think that this is like the first stage of what will happen in the football, because I personally believe that the role of the coaches, the role of the data analysts, the role of the tactical approach to the game will change in the future dramatically. And I am telling to you that like the guy who is working in the deep tech sector, fighting with the biggest players in the market, establishing state-of-the-art models right now and performance models right now in the world, because there is no reason to be something else. Because when you see how the AI, how the consumption of the video can perform, and just building the analysis based on the formation and what is, for example, ReSpo is doing, we are just behind a very big revolution, in my private opinion.
Nice, thank you. And Pavel, perhaps it's been touched on a little bit there by Jarek, but perhaps you could expand on exactly what ReSpo.Vision provides for Wisła and how that technology has helped the club recently.
Sure. I'll try to put that into perspective first. So obviously, I guess most of us here at the event know what event data, tracking data is. But just to make everyone on the same page, I'll start by saying that historically the industry has been operating on the mostly event database, basically data which is collected manually and pertains to things like passes, shots, dribbles, fouls, things that a human annotator can just click and record and then aggregate it. They have been used in analytics. What is innovative about our solution and other solution like ours is getting deeper than that. So tracking data is basically gathering information on the positions like XY coordinates of players across the game, up to 50 times per second, and only then aggregating the data. What does this unlock? Basically, a deeper level of understanding of the game than just event data. Things like pressing intensity, area scans, detailed physical metrics, acceleration, sprint numbers, top speeds, shot speeds, etc. Basically, think of it in the following framework: things that are impossible to be annotated by a human eye, because they are just too nuanced. The speed, the pressing intensity. They need a machine eye to see them. But thanks to those things, and there are numerous examples of that, we can get a deeper understanding of the game and therefore better predict, better analyze stuff. So that is essentially what we do: tracking data. How we capture that? By using optical tracking systems. I won't surprise you all in this conference where AI is a big name in itself and talked about quite a lot. We use AI, actually a subset of AI called computer vision, to capture, to harvest this data, this tracking data, and then prepare analytical products. Build and to comment on what Jarek said, I just want to mention that the use cases for this are own team analytics, tactical analysis, formation-related stuff, opponent analytics, and can be also used for scouting use cases as well.
Nice. And Jarek, again, you touched on it briefly before, but I'd like to know how the club kind of practically uses the data. And I guess, what do you feel is the competitive advantage that Wisła gets from ReSpo.Vision?
I think that, to be very meritocratic about that, I try to make like the Wisła Kraków like the synonyms of of club being like based on the data, but not like the statistical model, like it was like the previous years, but something much more ambitious, so data-driven, AI-driven, and so on and so forth. And from our perspective, we do not have any other solution on the market which we can already purchase to do such things what we are doing with the ReSpo. So I will just give you the example. We are playing the game next Sunday, so this Sunday, and just after the game, our opponent has like a couple of days ago, we are getting like the through API services or through the report services from the ReSpo, quite big report about every player of such club with the last match, with the formations, with the tactics, with statistics and everything else, which normally we need to capture from the different other systems. And as Paul mentioned, most of these systems are like based on the 2D event data, which are not so accurate in terms of the 3D vision of the world, like the sphere vision of the world. So this is our core analysis for coaches, but also for our scouting teams and some other people in the club who are responsible for taking this data to also give inject this data to other systems, because we are also developing in the Wisła Kraków our own core system for the scoutings for other things, and having those data which are not available normally is for us a big treasure. But in the end of the day, as you probably know, the next game changer will be actionable insights, and I think that ReSpo is just behind this moment, that it will be not only delivering you the data which are just presenting observation from the pitch, but it is also showing something like the actionable insight for you. And just imagine that why I'm just believing in such products and projects, also as a lecturer of one of the university, because when you are watching the game during the week, you have the feeling that you can just watch, I don't know, 30, 40 matches, and later you probably die because of that. Definitely when you are watching the second Polish division, it is not so romantic in the end of the day. But just imagine this. And when you are just watching the game, wherever you are analyst, coach, wherever, you need to focus on something, on the player, on the ball, on the formation, and so on and so forth. There is no possibility to see the whole pitch all the time. There is no possibility to see how the ball is manageable by the player, what the positions are, what is the formation in specific moment. And just imagine that the computer can watch such games in milliseconds, because you can just fragment video and just watch it partially. So 90 minutes for the computer could be the 9 minutes or something like that. So it's incredible revolution here, because in the end of the day we can just only not get the insights about the team will just be in the play in the moment, but we have also some great analytics about our own players. And what is also super important, because you probably realize that most of the data which is captured from the market already is not so accurate. Even the system could present different data about everything. In the end of the day, thanks to the ReSpo, we have additional way of double check what we are getting about our players and so on and so forth. We have the maps, the heat maps of how we play, how the opponents are playing, how it's it's looking from the statistical models and so on. It is super hard, to hack, the physical movements of the player of the opponent team. Just imagine, normally you don't have access to the, physical, technical stuff of the team, which will be your opponent after the game. And I'm not talking about only high frequent speed, movement or something like that. I am talking about how the people are just running, how the formation looks like. So this is really important in the end of the day. And I really advise to just see the power of the AI, because for you it should be also inspiration to do more with everything which is correlated with the data science. But data science not understood as a small statistics, linear regression, and so on and so forth, but something much more, because many people are thinking that AI is also with the ReSpo.Vision is some handcrafted rules which we establish or something like that. No, AI is something much more. You can see things that people are not seeing in the end of the day.
Nice. I think, a lot of the conversations I've heard at the World Football Summit, I've heard people from clubs talk about how they would love to implement an AI strategy. You know, there's been lots of talks and panels in the last few days. I think what's definitely prevents probably some clubs from pursuing that is fear. Fear about complexity, about the cost of it, about the manpower or the lack of internal expertise that they have at the clubs. So I guess what would you say to clubs, perhaps kind of down the football pyramid and in smaller leagues, who are perhaps worried about investing or pursuing an AI-based solution because of those things, complexity, cost, internal expertise? How would you reassure them that it's possible?
Maybe I'll take this one. So first of all, I start by stating the obvious, which should be understood and said before proceeding further. There has been a very good analysis, I think, done by Stefan Szymański in the book published in the book Soccernomics, where he tried to analyze what factors, what variables influences this league success of particular clubs. I think he took Premier League as an example and took like 30 years worth of data. So he analyzed like lots of different aspects, lots of different potential metrics, like, you know, previous season league position, the size of the transfer budget, the age of the team, etc. And you know what happened? There was a single important factor which explained 70% of variability. And it was wage budget. So at the end of the day, it is fact that the better wage, the higher wage budget you have, the better players you will get, and the better outcome you will see. So probably that's not the answer that I should be giving as a AA provider, but one should understand that obviously saying, you know, you need to spend more on technology, etc., is easy to say. It's harder to execute in such a competitive market when you are competing with wages, with packages against other teams willing to do the same. So it's not about spending more; it's about spending smarter, spending same amount of money more efficiently. And here again, being a technocrat as Jarek, I invite you to think about the technology as an enabler, the technology which progresses and makes things that were, you know, limited to only big five leagues or the top of the world of pyramid up until recently, now becoming more commoditized because technology makes things cheaper. And you know, a great example from my own experience is the way we build our system. So like we do tracking, but we do single camera tracking. What does it mean in practice? We don't need to install any hardware. So whether we work for a club or for a league, we don't have a huge capex cost of installing, you know, dozens of cameras at every stadium. That drives the installment costs to a level which starts becoming affordable. When we have no cameras, and I will use some slide example to show that. When we have no cameras, we work from a TV camera or a tactical camera that literally everyone in the world uses already, like you see on the picture number 1 or picture number 2. That allows us to have lower operating costs. No people needed to operate the cameras. No cloud costs for 20 data streams, etc. So things are becoming more and more affordable thanks to technology. But in order to benefit from that, you need to be on top of things. So my invite to you, obviously as a data provider, is to keep track on what's happening and think of technology as an enabler, as a democratization force in an access to advanced analytics and other stuff, and not as a thing which prohibits you from using it because it's complex. That's the first biggest point that I wanted to make. There's a second point about this complexity and the adoption, and I think Jarek is a great example of doing that. It seems like there are barriers of entry. Like usually, no one expects a club owner unless he owns a AI company, like Jarek does. But that's probably in a very unique situation. No one expects a club owner or a coach or whomever in the club to be fluent in AI. But there are hundreds of people fluent in AI who love football, who are willing to break in. The state of the market. That many people are experimenting on their own. Not getting paid for that. Entering the market, hiring first team members, usually young people, because you need to be fluent in the recent most modern technologies, is not that costly. And then obviously you need to trust them, but you need to control them. But getting from 0.0 to 0.1 is not that difficult. And then obviously you measure them against results and have them explain what they are doing and how how does that influences your sporting results, etc. But technology is shouldn't be perceived as a threat or something very complex. It should be perceived as an enabler and a way for you to be more competitive, be it your club or a league. And the last point that I want to make here is that, okay, at the end of the day, given the clubs or organizations, singular organizations might have budget constraints, but there's also an opportunity to get 3 or 4 other clubs in the league you're playing for, go to the league level and say, okay, well, let's do that as a league, which operates on a different budget at a different stage in the entire financial cycle, and it might be much easier for the league to negotiate much better deal for all of the clubs than the clubs going alone on it. So there are opportunities in like this pooling resources and doing stuff. From perspective of the company like myself, I would love to work with a league. Why? Because I have 16 or 18 customers now, and not having to go one after another, and that's also a win-win situation from the club members' perspective, because they get the results without straining their budgets. Yeah, they are kind of like outsource the cost. Obviously, the costs are there, but at the league level. So I invite you to think, whether you're a club or a league or other company, think positively about the technology and to gain to be a little more trustful in that, because the results can be yielded if you are brave. Again, example being Jarek and Wisła Kraków.
Nice. I did a panel discussion recently with someone from the Slovakian league, and actually they're developing a centralized system in the Slovakian league that all clubs can tap into in terms of data solutions, which I think is
exactly centralization of the data resources and then lowering the cost effectively.
It's a great phrase you used, kind of a democratization tool. I really like that. I guess my question would be, at the moment, while there's quite few clubs utilizing it, there's a clear competitive advantage. But if all clubs start using it, what does that look like?
Oh yeah. Okay, good question, and good challenge. So, obviously, it's not about access to the data, but it's about how you leverage the data. So, having access to additional statistics, as we all know, is no feat in itself. You already have too many vendors that you can process. I mean, like, you go on the market and you have like 50 or 60 companies willing to sell you data. So just the pure access is nothing. You need to be prepared organizational-wise to be able to process it, and also to put it in the decision-making process. Because again, doing analysis on the side, which doesn't influence how the coach manages, the manager manages the team and the tactics, what use does it make? So it's all about the coherent implementing it within the decision-making process. And here I would definitely invite Jarek to say a few words about his work, because without that, you are just doing like a single shots instead of just a coherent army attacking certain goal or outpost.
Yeah. So Jarek, how challenging is it, I guess, to get the coaching staff and the coaches on board to this approach? How does that work for you in practice?
I think that it is one of the biggest challenges for the industry itself, because of course we have all the feeling that we have like this domain knowledge, like the common knowledge, which is like intuition, and this is the most important things in the football. I think that this is important, of course, to understand everything, but in the end of the day, when you see how deeply you could be like in analyzing what the player are doing, not in the specific match, but we are using the ReSpo also to track the development of the players in the end of the day, so see the traction of this player all the time. It's just incredible. And of course, you can deny that AI data could not impact the game in an enormous way, but this is for me right now is super important. I don't think so. You can hire, you can just operate, you can do great job in terms of the coaching without having quite good technological environment in your club to invest in that environment. Because being honest with you, the investment on such tools, comparing to one salary of the player in terms of the year, in terms of the decision and the bad decision you can have is incredible. You know, you can just optimize the cost, but you can just also just generate some new revenue streams. And what I feel in the end of the day, we need to have a lot of more transparency in that field, because when you think about how you would like to educate, how you would like to make the game much more, you know, better in terms of the entertainment, we need to figure out new things all the time. You know, the tactics is changing all the times, the way we play is changing all the times. So it is not possible for the coaches to see so many different data points in real time. It is not possible, you know, to have so many different insights during the game, before the game, after the game, because of the time. If you don't have such things, at the end of the day, you need to hire more people. Hiring and scaling like the team with the more people is not like the relevant story for any club in the world. And of course, you can just think about like this, that sorry, Paul, is like the ReSpo.Vision, some open source solutions for tracking the videos and so on and so forth. But we are fighting, you know, to make the football much more, you know, efficient game in the end of the day. It is more about the quality and so on. And being honest, for every club which is not in the top 3 league, top 5, top 7 leagues in the world, such tools is like the enable of doing quite great things, because in the local markets we can, thanks to that, look for some lookalikes for the players are appropriate for our team, for our tactic, for you know, characteristics of the players and so on. So this is pretty good story in the end of the day. And what I feel, because it was like the question, what will happen when you know, when different systems will know each other and the clubs will be using the same tech and so on and so forth. This is a pretty great question about the AI itself in the end of the day. So, you know, most of the people are thinking, you know, that the rocket will come to the earth, you know, and everything will blow up. But normally the bigger problem is that AI will give you the opportunity to know everything what other person knows. So this is the big challenge in the end of the day, because having like the same knowledge will destroy all the structures in the world. But this is not the case of the discussion today. But in the end of the day, this is also opportunity to the players to know more about themselves. So we are using the ReSpo also to communicate to the players what they are doing good and wrong in a different way. Of course, when you think about AI, data science, you imagine that we are trying, you know, to cooperate also because of our knowledge with the ReSpo on some high level of understanding some code or something like that. It's not like that. We are getting like the pretty simple reports with visualizations, which are pretty amazing also for the communication with the players, to explain them what they are doing, how they are doing. Our coaches, like the assistants of the coaches, getting these reports all the time. And for me, being honest, it's like a good lecture, you know. It's like they're always too nice to see after the game, because you are in the emotions, under pressure and everything else, and everybody is having like the feeling this player is not performing well, this tactics was not well, we are not attacking good way. Later you are getting the numbers very quickly and you are seeing, okay, maybe I'm not so great specialist, what I think in the end of the day. So I think that this is super important. As a challenge, as a proof of concept, because I hope so Paul has some proof of concept ideas for the clubs, to present what is the value proposition for you, what is the USP of the solution, whatever is like the ReSpo.Vision, some other tech providers, you can always judge very quickly it is reasonable for you or is not reasonable. So we just done it like with the ReSpo. We checked like the 1, 2, 3 reports, compare it to the other tools we had, and later, you know, move forward with that. So this is pretty amazing. I try to never, you know, speak about very fluently about any kind of the tech, because it's like not in my style. I am even not like the shareholder of the Paul company. But when I see something which is changing the market as a computer vision in the football, I think that this is for everybody, for the club owners, for the coaches, for the culture in the club, like the big, you know, also the tools for the education of the market, to see just more, to see something else which is not like the simple to being catch up by the people in the end of the day.
And have you found that the players and coaches have embraced the approach? It's something that's interesting and new probably for some of them. So
yeah, of course, yeah. We have still the discussions. Some of them is much more traditional. Some of them are much more, you know, data oriented. I feel, you know, that every coach, if they would like to develop themselves and being on the next level, cannot, you know, forget about it. And being honest, of course, a lot of different people are thinking, this is additional things which we need to have as a Martian perspective, external perspective. For me, is like the fundament. You cannot like judge about the reality without the data points, without the data you have in your club. And of course, this should be always long-term strategy. If you think that you will get like I don't know, today AI implemented and later results in the 6 months, you need to also change your culture in the club. So it is everlasting project. So 1 to 3 years, but you will see results in the end of the day. And I hope so is something which is worth also to invest not only the time, but also your intellectual forces in the end of the day.
Nice. Pawel, going back to ReSpo.Vision, I mean, some of the stuff that you offer is incredibly interesting, I think. But what do you see as the future of advanced data solutions, like, for example, optical tracking that you offer? What's the future for that with football?
Yeah. So first, establishing many useful use cases from 2D tracking data. 2D tracking data being XY coordinates on a plane of a particular player's ball and referees as well. Establishing use cases. The football industry, we see that works from success to success. We had a Liverpool success. We had maybe for some of you are familiar with Midtjylland successes. And like whenever there's a big story, like now with Wisła Kraków, people will stop and say, okay, what were they doing to gain this competitive advantage, and then try to copy them. So establishing further outposts in terms of 2D data, but also getting to the 3D data part. And this is where things really get amazing, because apart from enriching the data set, by adding the third dimension, we are capturing a human body in 3D, multiple body parts, not only a single point per player, like a dot on a plane, but an entire body, which gives access to a wealth of data. The data like a body position, type of run, whether injury prevention becomes possible with such data sets. And further than that, we can go into the media use cases. And I have a very short GIF to show you how can that looks like. This is a Richarlison goal from 2020 World Cup, which we, as a ReSpo.Vision, created from a YouTube video, essentially. A YouTube video, so single camera source, and the camera is placed in the middle of the pitch. So think about all the fan experiences that will be unlocked by giving access to the fans to the cameras through the player point of view. Like we can place the camera on Richarlison's eye, through Richarlison's eyes. Like what did he see upon scoring that wonderful goal against Serbia 2 years ago? And it extends further than fan experience as well, this 3D technology, because imagine coaching your players, showing the defender this particular situation which he made a wrong decision and telling him or her, well, you should do that other than what you have done actually. So 3D will unlock even further use cases, which will be very exciting and will move the entire industry forward.
And do you see that being useful for both clubs and rights holders as well?
Definitely. So fan engagement use cases for rights holders, broadcasters, streaming services, also leagues if they do OTT and communication on social media. Whereas the coaching part, imagine using a headset. Again, I should have mentioned that player wears a headset. There are companies on the market which already are building these solutions. We are the technology provider for those solutions. Then the clubs are users as well.
I think that we need to just shortcut that in the quite pretty way, because you always reading about the cookie stories that everything is fine, everything is great, and so on. I will just give you the 1 to 25 seconds. Also some other aspects of working with the data, and I will be very honest with you. In the end of the day, we map the structure, vision, and strategy for the Wisła Kraków for last season. To play, of course, technical football, to be focused on the cups and European cups later, and so on. And it was working perfectly. The model was working perfectly. The data input was perfect. Everything was clean, amazing. The coach was, just being like picked only for that. And we, as a second-tier division, Polish club, just go to the Europe. We achieve amazing results in the Europe comparing to other clubs in Poland as well. But what happened? The model was not correct for the first league, for the second-tier league, and we were not promoted. And this is also showing you the power of the data, how you need to develop, how you need to be about the iteration, what you would like to do, and so on and so forth. So we need to work hardly, to match this data, match this model in the proper way. So we scout the players, which was on the first league in the Poland level. So we play greatly with the teams from the first Premier League from Poland, winning the cup, but still cannot win with the teams in the second tier league. So the data is there. So.
Perfect. Hopefully there'll be people in the room who will be encouraged to roll the dice and gamble as you have. Thank you so much, Jarek. Thank you, Pavel. Big round of applause for our guest, please. Thank you.